Isla Monroe's phone had 17 missed calls, but she was too busy trying not to die. The rental car fishtailed on the mountain road, tires screaming as she overcorrected. Rain hammered the windshield. Thunder cracked so close she felt it in her bones. And somewhere in the back seat, the wedding cake she'd spent 16 hours creating was sliding towards certain destruction. No, 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 she yanked the wheel, somehow keeping the car on the road. This was supposed to be her breakthrough. The Harper wedding. Old money family, 300 guests, a feature in Portland Bride magazine. One perfect cake that would finally prove Isla Monroe wasn't just a small-town baker with big dreams. She was the real thing. Except she'd gotten lost. Twice. Her GPS died. And now this storm was trying to kill her on some backwoods mountain road that definitely wasn't on any map. Lightning split the sky. In that flash of white light, Isla saw him. A man standing in the middle of the road, soaking wet, arms raised like he was flagging down a plane. She slammed the brakes. The car spun in a complete circle before lurching to a stop inches from the guardrail. And the ditch below it. And the 50-foot drop beyond that. Isla sat frozen, heart exploding in her chest, hands locked on the wheel. The man ran to her window, pounding on the glass. Please. His voice barely cut through the storm. Please, I need help. She should drive away. She should call 911. She should do literally anything except unlock her door for a strange man on a deserted mountain road in the middle of a storm. But his eyes, even through the rain-streaked window, she saw the desperation in them. Not dangerous. Desperate. Isla unlocked the door. He threw himself into the passenger seat, gasping, dripping water everywhere. He looked like he'd been struck by lightning, wild-eyed, shaking, dressed in an expensive suit that was torn and muddy. Thank you, he gulped air. I didn't think anyone would come. Are you hurt? Isla demanded. No. Yes. I don't know. He dragged his hands through his wet hair. I need to get away from here. Far away. Right now. Red flags. So many red flags. Did you do something illegal? Isla asked flatly. What? No. Are you dangerous? No. Are you going to murder me? He finally looked at her, really looked at her, and something in his expression shifted. No. I promise. I made a mistake. A huge mistake. And I need to not be here when people realize what I've done. Thunder boomed overhead. Isla glanced in her rearview mirror. Empty road. Then forward. Empty road. They were alone in the middle of nowhere, and this man needed help, and she was apparently the kind of person who couldn't ignore that. Fine, she said. But I'm going to a wedding. The Harper wedding at Belmont Estate. If that's not on your way. That's exactly where I need to not go, he said quickly. Isla's stomach dropped. Why? He was quiet for too long. Why? She repeated. Because, he said quietly. That's my wedding. Isla stared at him. He stared back. The rain hammered the roof. You're joking, Isla said. I'm not. You're the groom. Owen Harper. Yes. And you're not at your wedding. Correct. Isla's brain short-circuited. Did you leave your bride at the altar? Technically, I left her before the altar. About 20 minutes before. He rubbed his face. I was standing in the groom's suite, looking at myself in the mirror, and I just couldn't do it. So I ran. Out the side door, through the gardens, into the woods. I've been walking for an hour. Isla's hands tightened on the wheel. Let me get this straight. I'm currently delivering a wedding cake to a wedding where the groom just abandoned his bride. Owen winced. When you say it like that. How else should I say it? I don't know. His voice cracked. I panicked, okay? I've been engaged for 2 years. Planning this wedding for 18 months. And the entire time, something felt wrong. But everyone was so excited. My family, her family, the wedding planner, the photographers. How do you stop a train when everyone else is cheering it on? Isla knew she should feel angry. The poor bride. The devastated families. The ruined celebration. But she'd been engaged once too. She remembered the feeling of standing in a beautiful white dress, smiling for everyone, while a voice inside whispered, "This isn't right." She'd ignored that voice. Married him anyway. Divorced 8 months later. Who's the bride? Isla asked quietly. Charlotte. Charlotte Blackwell. Isla closed her eyes. Of course. Charlotte Blackwell, society princess, philanthropist, woman who'd been named Portland's most eligible bachelorette 3 years running. The kind of woman who probably never made mistakes, never got lost, never showed up late with a melting cake. Does Charlotte know you're gone? Isla asked. By now. Definitely. What are you going to do? Owen looked out at the storm. I don't know. I just knew I couldn't walk down that aisle. I couldn't promise forever to someone when I wasn't sure I could promise tomorrow. He turned back to Isla. Does that make me a terrible person? Isla thought about her ex-husband. About the wedding where everyone cried happy tears except her. About the marriage that slowly suffocated them both. No, she said quietly. It makes you honest. Owen exhaled like he'd been holding that breath for years. But, Isla continued, I still have to deliver this cake. That's my job. My business. My reputation. So I need you to make a choice right now. Do I drop you somewhere safe first, or are you coming with me? I can't go back there. You won't have to face anyone. There's a service entrance. I'll get you inside somewhere quiet, then you can figure out what happens next. But Owen, she met his eyes. You can't hide forever. Eventually, you'll have to deal with this. He nodded slowly. Okay. Yes. Take me with you. Isla put the car in drive. One rule, she said. You don't touch my cake. For the first time, Owen smiled. Deal. Belmont Estate appeared through the rain like a Gothic cathedral, all stone and spires and dramatic lighting. Cars lined the circular driveway. People with umbrellas rushed between buildings. Chaos, but organized chaos. Isla pulled around to the service entrance like she'd been instructed. She'd barely parked before a frazzled wedding planner in a headset appeared, tapping frantically on her tablet. You're late, the woman snapped. The storm. The cake goes in the ballroom. West corner, white table. Don't let anyone near it until the reception. She glanced at Owen, who'd pulled his jacket over his head. Who's he? Assistant, Isla said quickly. Fine. Move fast. We're behind schedule. The woman spun away, barking orders into her headset. Isla and Owen carefully extracted the massive 4-tier cake from the back seat. Miraculously, it had survived the drive intact. This is beautiful, Owen whispered, staring at the intricate sugar flowers. Thank you. Now help me not destroy it. They carried the cake through the service corridors, all concrete and fluorescent lights, completely at odds with the luxury happening upstairs. Staff members rushed past, too busy to notice them, until they reached the ballroom entrance. A woman blocked their path. Mid-50s, elegant, radiating authority. Owen froze. Mom, he breathed. The woman's eyes widened. Owen. Isla felt her stomach drop into her shoes. What are you? His mother's gaze darted between him and Isla and the cake. You can't be here. Charlotte is. The families are. Owen, everyone is looking for you. I know, Owen said quietly. Then what are you doing? I don't know, he admitted. But I couldn't go through with it. His mother's face crumpled. Not angry. Devastated. Oh, Owen. I'm sorry, he whispered. She closed her eyes, took a breath, then looked at Isla. You're the baker. Yes, ma'am. Did you know who he was when you brought him here? Isla hesitated. Lying felt wrong. Yes. Owen's mother studied her for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, she stepped aside. Deliver the cake, she said quietly. Then get him out of here before someone else sees him. Use the east exit. She looked at Owen. Your father is furious. Charlotte is. I don't even know. You've created a disaster. I know. But, his mother continued, voice softening, I've never seen you look more like yourself than you do right now. Terrified and soaking wet, but awake. She touched his cheek gently. We'll handle this. Go. Owen looked like he might cry. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You'll have to face this eventually. She glanced at Isla again. Take care of him. He makes terrible decisions when he's emotional. Then she was gone, disappeared into the chaos. Isla and Owen stood frozen for a moment. Your mom is terrifying, Isla whispered. She's also the only person in my family who might understand. Owen adjusted his grip on the cake. Let's finish this. They slipped into the ballroom through a side door. The space was breathtaking. Crystal chandeliers, hundreds of white roses, tables set with gold-rimmed china. And at the front, an archway covered in flowers where Owen should have been standing. Where Charlotte Blackwell was not standing. Because the ceremony clearly hadn't happened. They set the cake on its designated table. Isla fussed with the arrangement, making sure everything was perfect, while Owen stood nearby, staring at the wedding that wasn't happening. I spent 2 years planning this day, he said quietly. Every detail. Every decision. It was supposed to be perfect. Was it what you wanted? Isla asked. I thought so. Charlotte and I made sense on paper. Same background, same values, same social circle. Everyone said we were perfect together. He paused. But perfect on paper isn't the same as perfect in reality. Isla thought about her own failed marriage. No, it's not. When did you know? Owen asked. That your marriage was wrong? Isla froze. How did you? You're wearing a ring on your right hand. Wrong finger for current marriage, right placement for remembering a past one. She looked down at the simple silver band. 3 months in. We were eating breakfast, and I realized I had nothing to say to him. We'd run out of conversation. Run out of connection. We were just coexisting. What did you do? Stayed for 5 more months trying to fix it. Then finally admitted the truth. We'd made a mistake, and staying married was just making it worse. She looked at Owen. Leaving hurt. But staying was killing us. Owen nodded slowly, understanding passing between them. A door slammed somewhere. Voices echoed. We need to go, Isla whispered. They hurried toward the east exit Owen's mother had mentioned. But as they passed a hallway, a voice stopped them cold. Owen. They turned. Charlotte Blackwell stood 10 feet away, still in her wedding dress. The dress was stunning, designer, custom, probably cost more than Isla's car. But Charlotte's face was streaked with tears, and her eyes were red. Owen looked like he'd been shot. Charlotte. I looked everywhere for you, she whispered. I thought maybe you were sick. Or hurt. Or, her voice broke. Or you changed your mind. Charlie. Was it me? Tears spilled down her cheeks. Did I do something wrong? No. Owen moved toward her, hands raised helplessly. God, no. You're perfect. That's the problem. You deserve someone who's sure. Someone who doesn't panic and run. Someone who loves you the way you deserve. And that's not you. Owen's silence was the answer. Charlotte closed her eyes, more tears falling. When she opened them, something had shifted. Pain, yes, but also something like relief. I knew, she whispered. I think I've known for months. You'd get this look sometimes, like you were trapped. But I told myself I was imagining it. That you were just stressed. That you loved me. She laughed bitterly. I was lying to myself. I do love you, Owen said desperately. Just not the way you should. Charlotte wiped her eyes. Not the way that makes someone run toward their wedding instead of away from it. The pain in the hallway was unbearable. Isla started to back away, feeling like an intruder, but Charlotte's gaze landed on her. You're the baker, Charlotte said. Yes. I should. I'll go. Did you know? Charlotte asked. When you brought him here? Isla swallowed. Yes. Why did you help him? Because, Isla said quietly, I've been where he is. Marrying the wrong person for the right reasons. And I wish someone had helped me be brave enough to stop it. Charlotte stared at her. Then, impossibly, she smiled, sad and broken, but genuine. Thank you, Charlotte whispered, for helping him be braver than I was. Then she turned and walked away, the train of her wedding dress trailing behind her like a ghost. Owen stood frozen, watching her go. Owen, Isla said gently. We have to leave. Now. He nodded numbly. They slipped out the east exit into the rain. Isla drove without thinking, just putting distance between them and Belmont Estate. The storm had eased to a steady rain. The road ahead was empty. Owen sat in silence, staring out the window. After 20 minutes, Isla pulled into a small diner, the kind that was open 24 hours and served coffee that tasted like regret. Come on, she said. You need to eat something. Inside, they slid into a cracked vinyl booth. A waitress appeared, looking half asleep, and took their order without comment. Coffee. Pie. Something to anchor them to reality. When the waitress left, Owen finally spoke. I destroyed everything, he said quietly. My family's reputation. Charlotte's heart. 2 years of planning. I'm a disaster. You're honest, Isla corrected. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. She stirred sugar into her coffee. A disaster would have married her, then cheated or resented her or slowly destroyed you both. You made a hard choice. A messy choice. But an honest one. Owen rubbed his face. What do I do now? Now you deal with it. Call your parents. Apologize to Charlotte properly. Face the consequences. Isla met his eyes. And then you figure out who Owen Harper actually is when he's not performing for everyone else. I don't know who that is. Then you get to find out. She smiled slightly. That's the gift you gave yourself today. Freedom to discover who you are instead of who you should be. Owen stared at her like she'd just translated a foreign language. The coffee arrived. They drank in silence. After a while, Owen said, Can I ask you something? Sure. Why are you helping me? You don't know me. I've completely destroyed your big professional moment. You should hate me. Isla considered this. I'm helping you because someone should have helped me. Because I see myself in you. And because... She paused. Because I think you're worth saving. Owen's eyes went bright. You don't even know me. I know you ran from a wedding that didn't feel right. I know you're devastated about hurting Charlotte even though staying would have hurt worse. I know you thanked me for helping you carry a cake. She shrugged. That's enough. Just like that. Just like that. Owen looked at her for a long moment. Really looked at her, like he was memorizing her face. You're extraordinary, he said quietly. Isla felt heat rise in her cheeks. I'm really not. I'm just a baker who got lost in a storm. No. Owen leaned forward. You're someone who stopped to help a stranger. Who didn't judge him. Who saw past the disaster to the person underneath. That's extraordinary, Isla. Her heart did something complicated in her chest. This was dangerous territory. He was emotional, vulnerable. She was caught up in the drama of it all. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. But when Owen reached across the table and took her hand, it felt real. "I know this is crazy," he said. "I know I have no right to ask anything from you. But..." He swallowed. "Don't disappear. Please. I need to know you're not just some angel who appeared in a storm and then vanished." Isla's hand trembled in his. "Owen, you're going through something huge. You're not thinking clearly." "I'm thinking clearly for the first time in years," he interrupted. "And I'm thinking that meeting you might be the only thing I got right today." The diner felt too small suddenly. Too warm. Too full of possibilities that shouldn't exist. "I live 2 hours away," Isla said. "You live in a world I don't belong in." This was just circumstance. Bad timing. A moment. What if I don't want it to be just a moment? Her breath caught. Before she could answer, Owen's phone buzzed. Then again. Then continuously, a flood of calls and texts finally getting through. Reality, crashing back in. Owen looked at the screen, his face going pale. It's everywhere. Social media, news sites, everything. Billionaire heir abandons bride. Harper wedding cancelled. He set the phone down. "I'm the villain in everyone's story." Isla squeezed his hand. "You're the hero in your own story. That's what matters." "Is it?" "Yes." Owen's phone buzzed again. "This time," he answered. "Dad," he said quietly. Isla couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but she saw Owen's face. Shame, guilt, resolve. "I know," Owen said. "I know. I'm sorry." A pause. "No, I'm not coming back tonight." Another pause. "Because I need time to think. To breathe. To figure out what happens next." His voice strengthened. "I made a choice, Dad. Maybe it was the wrong choice. Maybe I'm going to regret it. But it was mine. For the first time in my life, I chose something because it felt right to me, not because it looked right to everyone else." Silence. "I'll call you tomorrow," Owen said. "I promise. But tonight I need to be someone other than your son or Charlotte's fiancé or the Harper heir. I need to just be Owen." He hung up. Looked at Isla. "Come with me," he said. "What?" "Just for tonight. Not forever. Not even for tomorrow. Just tonight." His eyes were desperate and hopeful and more alive than she'd seen them. "Help me remember who I am when no one's watching. Please." Every logical part of Isla's brain screamed that this was a bad idea. But the part that had stopped in the storm, the part that had helped him anyway, the part that recognized herself in his desperation, that part whispered, "Say yes." "Okay," Isla breathed. "Just for tonight." Owen's smile could have lit up the entire diner. They paid and left, stepping back into the rain. And for one night, they weren't a runaway groom and a lost baker. They were just two people who'd found each other in a storm and decided to see where it led. Isla woke up in a hotel room that wasn't hers, wearing yesterday's clothes, with sun streaming through unfamiliar curtains. For a moment, she panicked. Then she remembered. The storm. Owen. The wedding that didn't happen. The diner. The decision to help him find somewhere to stay. They talked until 3 a.m., about everything and nothing. About families and failures and dreams that got buried under expectations. About the difference between the life you're supposed to want and the life that actually makes you happy. They'd fallen asleep in separate beds, exhausted but somehow lighter. Isla sat up and looked at the other bed. Empty. Her heart sank. Of course. He'd left. Back to his real life, where she was just a strange detour in his worst day. Then the door opened. Owen walked in carrying 2 coffee cups and a bag from the bakery downstairs. He was wearing the same torn suit, but he'd cleaned up. His hair was damp, his face freshly shaved. He looked different. Lighter. "You're awake," he said, smiling. "I got us breakfast. I didn't know what you liked, so I got one of everything." Isla stared at him. "You're still here. Where else would I be?" "I don't know. Dealing with your family? Fixing the disaster? Regretting last night?" Owen set the coffee and pastries on the small table. "I called my parents. They're handling things. Charlotte's okay, or she will be. And as for regretting last night," he met her eyes. "That's the one thing I don't regret." Isla's chest tightened. "I've been thinking," Owen continued, "about what you said. About figuring out who I am." He sat on the edge of his bed, facing her. "I've spent my whole life being who people expected. My father's son. Charlotte's fiancé. The Harper heir. But I have no idea who Owen is when those labels are stripped away." "So figure it out," Isla said softly. "I want to." He paused. "And I think you could help me." "Owen." "Not forever," he said quickly. "I'm not asking for forever. I'm just asking for time. To get to know you. To let you get to know me. The real me, not the disaster from yesterday. Because Isla, when I'm with you, I feel like I can breathe. Like I'm allowed to be uncertain and messy and figuring it out." His voice cracked slightly. "You see me. Not my family or my money or my mistakes. Just me. And I've never had that before." Isla's heart hammered. "This is insane." "I know. We barely know each other. I know. You're still in love with—" "I'm not in love with Charlotte," Owen interrupted gently. "I care about her. I'll always care about her. But I'm not in love with her. If I was, I wouldn't have run." "Then who are you in love with?" The question hung between them. Owen's eyes met hers, vulnerable and certain. "I don't know yet. But I know I want the chance to find out." Isla couldn't breathe. This was crazy. Reckless. The kind of decision that ruined lives and broke hearts. But she'd spent years playing it safe. Marrying the safe choice. Building the safe business. Living the safe life. And she'd been miserable. 1 month, she heard herself say. Owen blinked. "What? 1 month. We get to know each other. No pressure. No expectations. You figure out who you are. I figure out if—" She swallowed. "If this is real or just adrenaline and bad timing. And after 1 month, we decide if this is something worth keeping or something we walk away from." Owen stared at her. Then he crossed the space between them and took her hands. 1 month, he agreed. "But Isla, I'm already pretty sure I know how this ends." "Yeah." He smiled, genuine, hopeful, free. "Yeah." And when he kissed her, soft and tentative and full of promise, Isla felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. The bakery was small, tucked into a quiet Portland neighborhood, with a hand-painted sign that read, Monroe and Harper Patisserie. Isla stood behind the counter, boxing up a birthday cake, while Owen worked in the back kitchen. Through the window, she could see him, flower in his hair, focused on whatever creation he was attempting. He'd turned out to be terrible at baking, but excellent at business, at marketing, at talking to customers and making them feel seen. They'd spent their 1 month getting to know each other. Then another month. Then another. Owen had cut ties with most of his family's business. Used his own money, the money his grandmother had left him, separate from the Harper empire, to invest in Isla's bakery. Became her partner in every sense of the word. It hadn't been easy. The press had been brutal. His father had been furious. Charlotte had needed time to heal. But slowly, they'd built something real. The door chimed. A young couple walked in, holding hands, eyes bright. "We're getting married," the woman said excitedly. "And we heard you make the best cakes in Portland." Isla smiled. We do. When's the wedding? June. Small ceremony. Just family and close friends. Are you excited? Isla asked. The couple looked at each other, and the love in their eyes was so clear it hurt. Terrified, the man admitted. But excited. That's how you know it's right, Owen said, emerging from the kitchen. He slipped an arm around Isla's waist. The terror means you know what you're risking. The excitement means you know what you're gaining. The couple smiled. They spent the next hour discussing flavors and designs. When they left, clutching a folder of sketches and samples, Isla turned to Owen. You're getting philosophical in your old age, she teased. I'm 29. Ancient. He pulled her close, kissing her forehead. I was thinking about our story. How it started. With you ruining my big break. With you saving my life. He pulled back, serious now. I mean it, Isla. If you hadn't stopped that night, you would have figured it out. Maybe. But not like this. Not happy. He touched her face gently. You gave me permission to be imperfect. To be uncertain. To be human. Isla's eyes stung. You gave me permission to take risks again. To trust that choosing something scary might be choosing something right. They stood in their small bakery, holding each other, while the afternoon sun streamed through the windows. Outside, life continued. But in this space they'd built together, two people who'd met in a storm had learned how to build something lasting. Hey, Owen said softly. I love you. I love you too. Even though I can't bake. Especially because you can't bake. Someone has to handle the customers while I do the real work. He laughed, and the sound filled the bakery like light. They'd both run from something, him from a wedding, her from a safe life. And they'd run right into each other. The best wrong turn either of them had ever made. If you made it this far, you know this isn't just a story about a runaway groom. It's about the moment you choose yourself over everyone's expectations. Drop a comment. Have you ever walked away from something perfect because it felt wrong? Or stayed in something wrong because it looked perfect? Hit like if you believe the right person will love your messy, imperfect, figuring it out self. Please, sweetheart, subscribe for more stories about people who choose courage over comfort. Share this with someone who needs to hear. It's never too late to choose differently. Your challenge question. Would you stop in a storm for a stranger, even if it complicated your entire life? Your answer tells me everything about who you are. Thanks for being here. Keep choosing bravely. Keep loving honestly. See you next time. Red Heart.